Performance comes down to controlling what you can. For tennis pro, Jessica Pegula, that means starting with the air around her. She can't control her opponent or the match, but she can control her rest and recovery. That's why she's trusted Blue Air for 5 years and counting. Blue Signature air purifiers are engineered to perform and designed to impress, with 7 stages of advanced filtration, up to 10 times more odor removal, and customizable colors and accessories. Shop BlueAir.com and use code SIGNATURE30 to save.
Hey, it's Bubba Wallace from 2311 Racing. You know what feels like forever? Sitting on a plane waiting for takeoff. Good thing I've got Chumba Casino. With daily boost and social casino games on tap, this is the kind of fun that makes time fly. Why not turbocharge your downtime? Play now at ChumbaCasino.com. Let's Chumba.
Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
He's an old head.
Youngins are really starting to get on my damn nerves.
He's a purveyor of nonsense. He's a Georgia high school coaching job influencer. His favorite Bible verse is Jesus wept. He's the man of constant sorrow, Chris Lamb.
Yeah.
Sun Coaches Podcast would like to thank our sponsor, Vertical Raise. Elevate your program's fundraising this season with Vertical Raise. Vertical Raise is the premier online fundraising platform for organizations of all sizes, using innovative technology to create the easiest and most efficient system available. Raise more money in less time with your local fundraising coach, who works with you every step of the way to customize the ideal fundraiser for your program. To find out more, reach out to Justin Kilpatrick at justink@verticalraise.com. or follow at Vertical Raise, capital G, capital A, on X. Justin Kilpatrick is a territory sales representative. His number is 229-860-0057. Again, you can reach him at justink@verticalraise.com. Justin is good people. I've met him at a golf tournament this summer, and he's done a lot of good work for a lot of programs over the state. Reach out and see what he can do for your program. Tonight, we're joined by Coach Matt Dobson, the head coach at Statesboro High School. Coach, thanks for being on with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me on here. I've enjoyed listening to some of these that I've listened to, and enjoyed getting to know some of the coaches around the state. So thanks for having me on.
Appreciate you, Coach. Well, Coach, where are you from? Where'd you grow up?
Yeah, so I grew up in Florida, a little old small town, Monticello, Florida. It's about 30 minutes east of Tallahassee, and I think my hometown's claim to fame is Jefferson County. The county I'm from is the only county in the state of Florida that doesn't have a stoplight in it. So
really,
yeah, it's a little old small town. It touches the Gulf of Mexico and touches the state of Georgia. So it's long, skinny county, and it is small. One public high school in the county, and small town. Grew up there, and went to high school in Tallahassee at North Florida Christian. And so, yeah, enjoyed growing up there. Still, most of my family lives right there in North Florida. And so, I really enjoyed growing up there and love getting back there a lot still.
Where'd you end up going to college, and did you play college ball, or did you just go to school?
Yeah, so out of high school, I got a scholarship to go to Georgia Southern and play football at Georgia Southern. I actually went to Georgia Southern as a quarterback my freshman year. Played quarterback. I played quarterback. I was down the depth chart a little bit, and played for Coach Jeff Monken there at Georgia Southern. Like I said, buried down the depth chart. They asked me my freshman year if I wanted to go play some special teams. And I said, heck yeah, if it'll get me on the field, I'd love to. And so went and played on some special teams my freshman year. Had a little success doing that. So then they moved me to safety, which I had played early on in my high school career before I started at quarterback. And so played safety my last 3 years there at Georgia Southern. Played 2 years there for Coach Jeff Monken, and then played 2 years for Coach Willie Fritz. And so had a great career there. At Georgia Southern, a lot of fun memories there. We had a lot of successful teams there. Was there kind of part of that transition as Georgia Southern moved up to the FBS level, and was a part of that first bowl game, and getting to be a part of those teams was a lot of fun. Being around two really great head coaches, and then tons of great assistants who are making their mark in college football today, and a lot of teammates that are coaching college football and at the high school level today. And so definitely had a huge impact on me as a person, and then as a coach who I am today. A lot of the influences from those two staffs definitely play a role in who I am as a coach today.
Yeah, Coach Fritz came and recruited a kid that we had go play at Southern from Early County, Randy Wade. And
Yep.
Coach Fritz was awesome. When he came in there, I got to sit in there with Randy because I was his position coach, and that old gravelly voice. And I mean, I was fired up just listening to him talk. And, we walked outside. He said, "What do you think, Coach?" Because Randy was like real cerebral. And he was like a different kind of country kid.
Yeah.
He asked real weird questions and stuff like that. And I was like, "Man, you better go play for that man's what I think you better go do." He seemed like a pretty cool old dude.
Yeah, he's good, and like he just comes from a family of coaches and high school educators, and so and then he obviously coached high school ball, and then coached at the junior college level, and then coached at the Division II, and like truly just grinded his way, to where he's at now at Houston, and but I just felt like he could relate really well. Some coaches that have always been at the big time, I guess. They don't see things the way some other guys do, and so he was just so down to earth, and grateful for every opportunity he's gotten, and just relates to players really well.
So coming out of college, what was your first job?
Yeah, so my first job out of college, I went down to Cook County in Adel, and worked for Coach Bobby Jones. So my cousins, my first cousin was an assistant principal at Adel at Cook County at the time. He's still there. He's the athletic director, AD now there at Cook County, and he's been at Cook County his whole career. He started at Cook County back in the late '90s. Was a coach, and then became defense coordinator, and then became athletic director, and then an assistant principal. So I grew up going to Cook County games when he was coaching as a kid, and then so Coach Bobby Jones was the head coach at Cook at the time, and him and my cousin they started working at Cook the same year in the '90s, and so I had known Bobby. Coach Jones I'd known him for a number of years since I was a kid, really. And so when I got out of college, he had called and offered me a job to go down there and coach. And I really had, a couple different opportunities. I was talking with, Coach Grage at Thomasville, and then Coach Kraft up at North Forsyth, and was able to get on there at Cook with Coach Jones, and spent 2 years down there with him. Really loved my 2 years there. Got to coach receivers my first year. Got to do that, and it was something that I didn't have much experience. I never played receiver. Didn't have a lot of experience in that area, but got to learn a lot.
Just throwing it to them.
Yeah, well, we had a 2,000-yard running back, so we didn't get a lot of balls thrown our way. We did a lot of mirror drills and blocking drills at practice. We were good at that. We learned how to be unselfish for sure. So, but I did that for a year, and then my next year, I moved over to the defensive side of the ball and coached defensive backs, which is what I'd played in college and was probably more familiar with, and then got to coach special teams, and loved that. Was a great opportunity there. Like I said, Coach Jones, I learned a lot. I think it was really cool for me to be at a smaller school for those 2 years, and then get to be at a bigger school after that. So I got when I got there, I got the job. They took, hired me to coach football there, and then I started the school year. And about a weekend of the school year, they said, "Oh yeah, you're the head track coach too." And so I was the head boys and girls track coach down there as well. Right out of college, had no clue what I was doing. I ran track a little bit in high school, my freshman and sophomore year. And that was about what I knew about track. And so
hired.
Yeah, I was hired, and but it was really good for me just to get a little bit of head coaching experience on a much smaller scale. Obviously track not being, a lot of schools it's not super important. Cook there wasn't a lot of expectations on me for sure. It was keep the kids out of trouble and make sure we went to some meets and did all that. But I did get to deal with, some of the head coaching responsibilities and learn on the fly there. And it was fun. I really enjoyed coaching track. It was something I had to kind of learn a lot about and talk with people and figure out what to do and what not to do. And probably learned as much what not to do as I did what to do.
Where did Coach Jones go after Cook?
So Coach Jones, when he left Cook, make sure I'm getting this right, I believe he went to Charlton when he left Cook.
Okay.
I know he went to Charleston. He stayed. I left Cook after the 2017 season, 2017-18 school year. He stayed one more year. And I think he went to Charlton from there. Then, of course, he's at Atkinson County now.
Right.
I think he went straight to Charlton from there and was running the weight room down there at Charlton. That's one thing. Coach Jones did a great job, and probably learned a lot from him there is the weight room aspect. He had run the weight room for Cook for a number of years back in the 2000s, when Cook was having a lot of success, and he really does a good job in that area.
So where did you end up going after Cook?
What's up, Foos? Main event Jay Uso here from the WWE. When it's just me between matches, it's day one-ish. And that means it's Chumba time. With hundreds of casino-style games and new titles arriving weekly, there's always something fresh to try at Chumba Casino. The daily boosts make it even more fun. And have me about to get them all during my downtime. Ready for a fun way to chill out and enjoy a few minutes for yourself? Let's Chumba.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See T's and C's. 21 plus. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
Yeah, so when I left Cook, got the opportunity to go to North Forsyth High School, up and coming. He was my high school head coach the last 2 years. So in high school, I played my first 2 years of high school. I played for Coach Tim Coakley. That was, he was in Florida for a number of years, and then was the head coach at Colquitt County for a couple of years, and then was at Greater Atlanta Christian for a couple of years. So Tim Coakley was our head coach my first 2 years, and then he left. I think that's when he left in the Greater Atlanta Christian job, I believe. And so Robert Kraft also played at North Florida Christian, and was at Colquitt at the time. He had went to Colquitt with Tim Coakley, and then was at Colquitt with Coach Probst at the time, and came and was our head coach, and absolutely loved playing for him. And we stayed in contact all throughout college, and really when I would come home from college, that like at the end of the spring semester, I would always go and help out at spring practice and just be around, just knowing I wanted to coach. And so, like I said, Coach Kraft had tried to hire me at North Forsyth in 2016. Part of the reason I didn't go then is I was on a provisional first 2 years. I just got a history degree at Georgia Southern. And so I completed like a master's, an MAT program while I was at Cook. And in Forsyth County, they don't do much of that. Up there. And so once I completed my master's, I went up there where with him. My first season was the 2018 season. Coached quarterbacks that first year. And then the second year, our offensive coordinator left, and I got named the offensive coordinator for him up there. And then spent 5 seasons in total at North Forsyth with him, and really just a great coaching staff in general. Coach Kraft is if I had to say who's the most influential or my biggest mentor in the coaching profession, it's far and away Robert Kraft, and just taught me a lot about the profession and head coaching in general, and coaching and teaching, and just how to handle a lot of different situations. So learned a lot from him up there.
Well, I imagine that culturally moving from Adel, Georgia to Cumming was a little different.
It's a little different. It is a little different, for sure. And I think, it helped me a ton, for sure. I mean, just getting to be around, different types of kids, the cultural aspect for sure is about as different as you can get probably. But I think it just taught me a lot, about how to deal with different types of kids. That was probably, the kids in North Forsyth were probably much different than, what I played with in high school. Obviously, what I played with at Georgia Southern, and then when I coached at Cook, very different, in a lot of ways, socioeconomic and just different types of kids, but learning how to relate and connect with different types of kids. But at the end of the day, it showed me that the kids, no matter what, they just want to be loved, and they want to be held accountable. They want some structure in their life. And that ultimately they're all, different as they are. There's a lot of differences, but there's a lot of similarities as well.
Oh yeah, the kids are the same. I was just more of as a South Georgia guy, or spent most of my coaching career in South Georgia. I was just more of kids are kids. They're going to talk a little different, and they're going to act a little different, as far as what they like and what they do. But they're still, kids aren't, they're whatever. But you go from, how long does it take you to get from Adel to Valdosta? Well, how far is it? Well, it's
however many
20 miles.
It is.
However many miles it is. You move to Cumming, 20 miles may take you an hour.
That's how I've told people that before. I said, however miles it is, that's what you figure it's going to take to get there.
Unless you get behind unless you get behind a tractor or something.
Yep.
You tell guys in North Metro that, they look at you crazy.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
No, you get behind tractors. It's a thing.
There's no doubt. I will say that, like, the north part of Forsyth County, it's constantly changing. It's changed in the 2 years since the year and a half I've been gone. It still had a little bit of that rural feel to it. You still had some farms and different things. Now that's quickly fading.
Right.
But you did have a little bit of that feel, at least. Now, like I said, that's quickly fading, and it changes monthly.
Yeah, but the mall in Valdosta is a little bit different than going and shopping at Lennox.
For sure. There's some major differences for sure.
And that's something that's always intrigued me when I tell people and they're asking about, I'm thinking about moving to South Georgia or going the other way. And I'm like, all right, now it's going to be a lot different than what you think it's going to be. Oh no, I want to do it. Okay. Well, I'm not trying to discourage you. I just want you to be prepared, because it's a totally different lifestyle going both ways. Either direction.
For sure. Yeah. There's that, it's completely different. And then you get a little ways north of Atlanta, and it turns into difference.
It turns into a whole nother different.
A whole different world up there. Georgia's got three different worlds pretty much.
Yeah, 4 if you count the coast. That's where
Yeah,
Coach
you got the
Hidalgo
coast
and
too,
that
yeah.
crowd. Yeah, they're
That's
different.
right.
They're a different animal over there too. So it's very, very varied. I've worked at the Nike clinic the last 2 years down in Florida, and you meet those guys, and you think that everybody in Florida's, when you're a Georgia guy, you think all of you Florida people are the same. No, no. North, the Panhandle is like South Georgia. And,
Yep.
Those are like
Exactly right.
those are like real Florida people. And then anything south of Gainesville is like Michigan.
Exactly right.
Until you get to Miami, and then it's like Atlanta until you get to Cuba.
Yeah.
So it's just, I don't know, it's just different.
Yeah, they're different pockets for sure.
So after North Forsyth, what was the next opportunity?
Yeah, so the next opportunity was here at Statesboro. So, this job came open. I don't know exactly when it came open, but sometime November, December of last year. And it was a job, obviously, from my time at Georgia Southern. Really loved Statesboro and loved the area. And so I always kind of had my eye on this area. And, had looked at a few head jobs the previous year. And none of those worked out. But tried to be pretty selective in what I went after. Realistic in jobs I thought I would have a shot to get, and jobs that I wanted. That was the biggest thing. Is I was in a great position at North Forsyth. I loved who I worked for. I loved my job. I didn't have many complaints about my job. Just knew I wanted to be wanted to give the head coaching deal a try. And so if certain jobs came open, I was going to apply, and Statesboro kind of fit that mold. Wanting to kind of get back into the South Georgia scene a little bit and get a little closer to family, and so put my name in there, that one. And obviously I think some connections I had here in Statesboro, makes a huge difference. It's obviously who you know and who knows you and those type things. And so I had some connections here and was able to get this job in February of last year. And so just kind of wrapping up the first full year here in Statesboro, and absolutely love being here. It's you talk about the hustle and bustle of Atlanta, and then the small town, South Georgia, and Statesboro's got a great mix of both, because you still got the small town feel a little bit, but with the college here, that brings a lot of other things too, a little bit more things going on. And so we love being here. We feel like we got a good place, good administration support here, and so just really excited to be here.
Well, that's awesome. And as a younger guy, from what I normally have on here, you're one of the young guys.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
You're a younger guy. This got a head coaching job, and so talk about what it's like getting your first head coaching job at a well, it's not these days. It's not abnormal, but compared to some of the old heads, it's a relatively younger age of getting a head coaching job. What after year one, what are some things that you would tell some guys in your generation, your age group, hey, you might want to watch out for this or pay attention to that, or some advice, some advice you'd give some of your peers about pursuing the big chair? Yeah,
I think the biggest thing is just make sure you're not taking the job just to take it. Make sure it's a good job, and it's something that I felt like I was I don't want to say I was super patient, because obviously I am a young head coach, but I tried to wait for that right, not just jump on any job that was out there. Had opportunity, at my alma mater down in Florida, and didn't take it because I didn't.
Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on ChumbaCasino.com. I looked over at the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's ChumbaCasino.com and live the Chumba life.
Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
For one, I just didn't want to get out of the state of Georgia and get out of the retirement system and all of those things. And so, we passed up on that opportunity. But I think just making sure you're taking a job for the right reasons. It's something you hear a lot is chase, people. And, administration being the number one part of that, making sure you got the right people, because obviously they can make or break your job. They can, they can do a lot of things that can help you, and they can certainly make your job miserable if you don't have the right people. The other thing I would say is just make sure you've got people you trust that you can bring with you. I think it's obviously the longer you've been in it, the more connections, the more people you've worked with, the more people you can bring with you. Make sure you got a couple of people that are going to have your back and that you can bring with you. That no matter the situation, they're going to have your back and be there for you, and be that right hand, couple of guys for you, because they're going to have things that come up, and you need those people there in your corner, helping you for that. So that's just a couple of pieces of advice. One that you don't really control is it is what it is.
Now repeat that again. What's something you?
I said, be careful about taking a job in a bad housing market like now, because you're not going to be able to hire coaches.
We talked about that off air and it's been a common theme this year about hiring coaches. So talk about that a little bit, how that's been.
Yeah, luckily I was able to bring in a lot of guys last year, my first year. I was able to hire a lot of guys year one. And, those core guys are sticking around with me. So that's been good. But this year it's been extremely hard to hire people, just with the housing market, I think. And, inflation, nobody wants to move. Certainly nobody that's got a mortgage at a 3% interest rate right now is looking to trade that in for what we got right now. And so I think it makes it tough. And, I've talked with, I was talking with an athletic director the other day at a South Georgia school, a really, really good South Georgia school. And they're having, it's hard to get good quality candidates for a head baseball job, and talking with different coaches, it's just hard to get people to move right now. And understandably so, for people, makes it tough. And so you got to find creative ways to get people to come and try to make sure it works out financially for those people. But it's certainly tough right now.
Yeah, there's so many jobs open right now. I just don't think there's as many people going into education as there used to be. And we're going to have to come up with some creative problem-solving solutions to these issues as we go forward. I mean, I'm on the way out, but as you go forward, you've got several more years left of this. As the years go by, if you can't keep your core group together and you have to go hire more guys, it's going to become increasingly more difficult to find people, quality people, especially that you'd want to cut loose with your kids.
Yeah.
To come in and work.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, I think there's, unfortunately there's more good people getting out than there are good people getting in. For some of those guys are retired, and some, I think some of them are just hanging up the coaching aspect in general. And so, it's unfortunate, and there's, lots of reasons for it. But the one probably good thing that we do have here in Statesboro is we're able to get some good young community coaches, and guys that played high school football that are going to college that want to get into coaching. We got there's a good minor at Georgia Southern for coaching classes for students who want to minor in that, and we're able to get some guys from those classes to come help us. And a lot of times it's almost better to be able to get some young guys that don't know much, and you can kind of show them what you want. And if you get the right ones, they're eager to learn. We got a couple good young ones on our staff right now that are still in college that are eager to learn, that are going to be good coaches. And so, that's one benefit that we do have here in Statesboro.
Well, and you have the built-in benefit too of being a college football player, where you have a network, and you have let's be honest, most of the guys you played with probably majored in things that lend itself to coaching, if that's what they decided to do. I mean, it's not like you played with a bunch of accountants.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I've got a couple guys that I played with in college on staff, and so there's no doubt having that network and then having those different coaches that are coaching, at different places throughout the state. Got a couple of teammates. Our Coach Dale McGee was an assistant, when I was at Georgia Southern, and then he's got a guy or two on staff that played with me in college, and so. I'm always telling those guys, hey, if you guys got anybody that wants to coach when they get out of college, let me know for sure. So that's for sure a definite benefit of having those relationships.
And being from Florida too doesn't hurt. I mean, you've got that whole area, and those guys, God bless them, not getting paid what they should be getting paid. You've got connections there as well. I mean, that's fantastic.
Yeah, certainly. They you're seeing more and more guys make that jump, and you got able to hire guys from down there that are head coaches, and I'm able to pay them more money just to come up here and be assistants for sure. It's a definite bet. It's a shame for those guys down there, but a huge plus for us up here in Georgia.
Well, let's talk about year one of the Statesboro Blue Devils. How did things go in your first year?
Yeah, we started slow. Part of that was who we played. We played a really good non-region schedule. We played Effingham and played Glenn, played Wayne County, played Burke County, and so you talk about those four programs. You talk about great coaches with Coach Stevens and J-Bo. Wayne, and then Coach Hidalgo and Coach Ford, some really good coaches, and we got beat up a little bit in those non-region games, and then get into our region, and we were in a region with Coffee and Ware. Obviously, Coffee being they were unbelievable this year, and just a super super talented football team and physical, and so we finished third in the region to those guys. Behind Coffee and Ware, and really battled a bunch of injuries, especially on the lines of scrimmage. We had tons of injuries up front throughout the year, and felt like we never played the same 5 offensive linemen throughout the year, and that hurt us. But then we were able to get into the playoffs as the 3 seed, went to Tucker in the first round, and we're able to beat Tucker up there in the first round, and so that was the first playoff win here at Statesboro in 10 years, which is hard to believe. As successful as Statesboro has been throughout their history, it's hard to believe it had been 10 years. But got that playoff win against Tucker and went to the second round and played a good Harris County team and lost to those guys. But yeah, it was a good year one. I think we had winning the playoff games, obviously huge when it hasn't been done in 10 years. For some momentum, I think, building into the off season. Year one, trying to transition, offensively a little bit. Statesboro historically has been, run first, heavy run. We still want to be run first, but probably transition to a little bit more of a balanced attack that Statesboro has been in a long, long time. And so had some, bumps in the road with that transition, and then. Defensively, we switched it up a little bit from what they had been the previous few years with Coach Kaiser, and so it was a year one. It was trying to just change things to the way we wanted them. Not the way that they had done them was wrong, but just changing them, the way that we wanted to do them, the way that we're going to try to run the program here, and so lots of changes, and. You could see that throughout the year, but thought we really started playing our best ball the last couple of weeks in the year, and so it's what you always want to see. But hopefully build off year one, and hopefully we can continue to find a way to get into the playoffs and make those playoff wins a little bit more regular.
And how did spring go for you guys this year?
Yeah, it was good. Once again, talking about those injuries up front with the offensive linemen, a lot of those guys are still recovering from some injuries, from surgeries in the all season. So we were without 3 guys who were returning offensive line starters, and then had one more get hurt during spring that started some games last year. And then we got one that we project to be a starter this year that was out. So we played in our spring game with 5 offensive linemen that are either projected starters or have started games for us out. So that's obviously a challenge in the spring, but it was a great opportunity just to get a lot of young guys reps up front.
Yeah, you're developing depth, Coach.
And that's what spring, I really don't care about the spring game itself. That's not, what's important.
Right.
And so some of those guys we didn't really need to see in spring. We had a couple of those offensive linemen that started 20 plus games in their career. They're going into their senior year, so spring's not as important for them. And so we got a lot of young guys, a ton of reps, guys that, hopefully are going to be backups for us this year and not have to play a lot on Friday nights this year. But then the following year will be those guys on the offensive line. And so that was really positive for us, I think. We're going to be a young football team. Our senior class is pretty small. And out of that senior class, it's mostly on the lines of scrimmage, which is a positive. There's just not a lot of skill kids in that senior class. And so we're going to be young, but we think we got a lot accomplished this spring. Stayed pretty healthy. We had that one offensive lineman get hurt during spring practice. The rest of those guys that were hurt will be back here in the next couple of weeks and ready for summer. And so we thought it was a successful spring, much different than last spring. You know how it is year one, you're hiring coaches and you got guys coming from, all over the state, and they're trying to get to spring practice when they can, and they're trying to get off work in time to get there. And you don't have everybody there. And this year we kind of had everybody in place. And so that was a big positive for us. And our kids just so much farther along this spring from a scheme standpoint. We could focus so much more on the, trying to work the finer details, the physicality, those 10 days in pads being important to work on that physicality aspect. So we got accomplished this spring game, played Burke County. I like playing Coach Stevens' teams just because you're going to get a physical bunch. And I think it's important for our guys to see, that kind of physicality that we're going to see on those Friday nights, hopefully into November, into the playoffs.
Well, and with us being able to have OTAs and all the 7-on-7s during the summer, I mean, you're going to get a lot more work too to see what you need to see. Yeah, absolutely. And so, we'll got plenty of time to get where we want to get to. But yeah, it was a successful spring, just getting some of these young guys reps. We're gonna play a young guy at quarterback. Depending on who it is, it's either gonna be a freshman or a sophomore. So we're gonna play a young kid at quarterback and got them a lot of reps this spring and got them some good action in the spring game to good film to watch and good stuff to learn off of. Well, who are some people that we need to be looking out for on your roster from Statesboro this year?
Yeah, on the offensive line, we got like I said, some seniors. Adrian James is a young man that'll be back. He'll be a 3-year starter. We think he's going to be a college football player. Obviously, the recruiting world's crazy right now, but he's really talented on the offensive line. He'll play tackle for us, and then we got another guy, Hamp Harrelson, that we're getting back. He missed all of last season he had Liz Frank surgery on his foot. We're excited to get him back. He was a starter his sophomore year, the year before I got here. So we're excited to get him back for his senior year. So those two guys are going to kind of anchor us up front. And then we got some good young skilled kids. Keon Childers is a guy who really came on last year as a sophomore. Had a big touchdown for us in our playoff win against Tucker. He'll really start at receiver and get a lot of work in the secondary as well. He's kind of our big play guy. On defense, we got a defensive end who's going to be a junior, Xavier Spells. He's kind of the guy that makes us go up front. And then we got Rashad Chavers as a linebacker that's also a junior. Those two guys are going to kind of be the heart and soul of our defense. On that side of the ball. So we're not gonna have many seniors on the defense side of the ball, but we got some good young talent coming up. Those two guys being two of the more experienced guys that played a lot of minutes for us last year as sophomores.
That's awesome. So what did realignment do for you guys as far as scheduling goes this year?
Yeah, so we got placed in a big region. We're in a 9-team region. We're with Brunswick and Glenn, the two Effingham South and Effingham County, Bradwell Institute, and then 3 of the Augusta schools, Evans, Lakeside, and Greenbrier. So it's a really competitive region, with some good coaches in it. And so like I mentioned earlier, last year we played Effingham and played Glenn, and those two teams tied along with Brunswick for that region last year. And so it's good competitive football with some good coaching. And so we're excited to be in it. It's a little different for me. I've never been in a region that size. Most regions I've been in have been, 6, 7 teams. And so it's going to be a little different being in a 9-team region and having 8 region games. You got to have your team ready to go. Week 3, they start really mattering. And so a little different.
Makes scheduling non-region easier.
It makes scheduling non-region super easy, especially when we got Southeast Bullock here in the county that's kind of turned into a rivalry game over the last number of years. That makes one, checked off the list really easy, and then just having to find one more. And so makes it super easy. We're gonna play veterans in another non-region game. It makes it nice for sure.
Yeah, that's right down the road from my house.
Yep. Yeah, we're going to play those guys. It'll be a good, that's a region that we'll play in the playoffs at some point, I'm sure.
Are they coming to you guys, or are you coming up here?
They're coming to us this year, and then we'll go there the following year.
Okay. That'll be cool.
Yeah, it'd be a good playoff type, a playoff type road trip, and so it'd be good for us, and they should have a good team. I know they seem to be doing a good job over there, so it'd be a good matchup for us. And it's just somebody different too, for our kids to play that they're not as familiar with from the area and all.
Yeah, Coach Ingram's a good dude too. They and it's funny you say that kids aren't familiar with them. I remember some of the smaller schools, and you probably speak to this being when you were at Cook. They know when you're playing, Brooks County, or you're playing Early County, or you're playing Fitzgerald. They get that. But then when you tell them we're going to play Dublin, they're like, so, they don't know who's that. They don't give a crap about. They're good. So, they don't even think about, we're not going to see these people at the mall. I don't know who these people are.
It's crazy, the mindset of kids, like you're talking about. Like it's crazy that it just changes their mindset so much.
Yeah, you take them out of town or out of your region, and they're like, who are these people? Never heard of them. Yeah, they've won 87 games in a row. Oh, okay. Well, they're fixing to lose one.
Exactly.
Can't tell them nothing.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Or we had kids when I was at Turner County. We took them to camp, and we went to Laura S. Walker State Park in Waycross, and we get past Tifton, and some of them were like, which was only 20 minutes from Ashburn. They're like, I've never been past here. And I'm like, what? They're like, no, this is furthest this way I've ever been. And then you start talking to them. They're like, well, Coach, I've never been to Atlanta. And you're just sitting there looking at them like, you're kidding me. I mean, you're sitting there, and then it hits you. A lot of these kids don't get exposed to the same things that, we were fortunate enough to be exposed to. So through athletics and through what we're doing, football and track or whatever else we coach, we're able to, expose these young people to just different things that, they may have a phone and the internet and all this other stuff, but actually physically getting to experience things. A lot of these kids from smaller rural places, they've never been to any of these places.
Oh yeah, one of my favorite things in college every year was the first time we get on a plane each year to go to an away football game, which I'd only flown one time before I got to college, so I wasn't some experienced flyer. I'd flown one time when I was 8 years old, and that was it. But every year we'd go on a plane, that first trip that we had to fly to in college, and it was always so much fun. Guys who've never even, like you said, some of them never left the state, and they're getting on an airplane. We're about to fly to New Mexico, and that takeoff, some of them freaking out was always really fun.
Yeah, it'd be like the A-team and Mr. T. You have to give them some milk before they go to sleep.
Yeah, exactly. It was always pretty comical each year getting to see that.
Yeah, it's one of the many things that's cool about doing what we do. You get to expose these kids to things that, and even today with them having a handheld computer in their cell phone, and you think they're exposed to all this stuff. And I mean, they are by looking at it, but actually, going somewhere and putting their hands on it.
Yeah.
Totally different.
Yeah, for sure. There's lots of different experiences like you're talking about that some of them have never done, and it's pretty cool to get to experience it with them for the first time, and show them some things like that.
Well, Coach, we're very fortunate to have you on today, and very fortunate to have you leading young men, as this profession definitely needs to pass the torch to the next group coming through. I know you're doing a great job in Statesboro. Year one's in the books for you. They say it's the hardest one. Look forward, you got that first playoff win, so you can check that box. Taking the next step, going a little bit further this year, and can't wait to see what you guys have in store for us this coming year.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me on, and thank you for what you do for coaches in our state, for sure.
Thanks, Coach. If there's anything I can ever do for you, just let me know.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Tyler Reddick here from 2311 Racing. Another checkered flag for the books. Time to celebrate with Chumba. Jump in at ChumbaCasino.com. Let's Chumba.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See T&Cs. 21+. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
¿Quieres mejor internet? Cox Internet de 300 megas tiene las velocidades rápidas y confiables que buscas. Perfecto para streaming y gaming y trabajar desde casa. Yeah. Todo por solo $45 al mes cuando agregas Cox Mobile. Incluye equipo de Wi-Fi y garantía de precio de 2 años en tu plan. Yeah. No esperes. Cámbiate hoy a Cox. Requiere Cox Mobile Gig Unlimited. Garantía de precio no incluye impuestos y cargos. Velocidad de datos móviles se reduce después de 20 gigas al mes.